Welcome back to the Response Drivers Podcast, where we feature top marketing minds and dig into their inspiring stories. Learn how these leaders think and find big ideas to push your results and sales to the next level. Now, let's get started.
Hey, I'm Rick Rapé, host of the Response Drivers Podcast. Here I dive deep with marketing experts and innovators to learn how they approach targeted marketing and use data-driven strategies to acquire and retain customers. We'll talk about what's working, what's changing, and how we can stay ahead in an evolving marketing landscape. Response Drivers is brought to you by RPM Direct Marketing. RPM helps companies develop hard-hitting direct mail creative and utilize advanced testing and targeting methodologies to reach customers and prospects. Our goal is to fully optimize your marketing performance and drive more sales and exceed growth expectations. RPM delivers smarter, more profitable direct mail solutions so you can turn direct mail into a predictable, efficient sales channel. Check out rpmdm.com to learn more. My guest today is Nathan Whittacre. He's CEO of Stimulus Technologies and a visionary leader who has spent 3 decades at the forefront of technological innovation and entrepreneurship. He's a trusted advisor, mentor, and thought leader in the technology field, and he's the author of the CEO's Digital Survival Guide, a practical handbook to navigating the future. Stimulus Technologies is focused on providing the best technology to businesses, including IT services, internet, and voice over IP. Nathan's passion lies in helping people better their lives through technology, cybersecurity, and intentional culture. Thanks for joining me today, Nathan.
My pleasure to be here, Rick.
Well, let's jump in because I'm interested in your early days. You started your first business at the age of 11, and by 17, you had launched what would later become Stimulus Technologies. So tell us a little bit about those early days, and how do you think those experiences set you up for success today?
So both my parents were business owners, and so I learned from them. Ironically, all 4 of their kids, all 4 of us have been business owners, and so kind of learned, listening to them and the challenges that they had owning their businesses early on, and I don't know why we decided to do it. Learning about all the struggles as kids, that my parents had. Operating businesses, through the 70s and 80s. We saw an opportunity. We lived in a bit of a rural area, and I opened up a little candy store in my house when I was 11 years old. But my brother wanted to teach me something, and the first thing we did is break out some ledger paper and had to track inventory and sales and keep basically a P&L statement and a balance sheet of my little candy store. It was,
Wow.
for an 11-year-old, I was selling between $100 and $200 a week worth of candy out of my little closet in my house, and
Wow.
did that
That's
for
amazing.
a few years. The funny story is, it got shut down by the tax department. I think a parent complained that
Wow.
And it took him 6 months to come and knock on our door and say, "Hey, you can't sell candy out of your house because you don't have a business license, and we can't give you a business license for a retail store in your house, so you kind of got to shut down." And
Interesting.
as a 12-year-old, that was pretty disheartening, but realize the potential of owning a business and the fun that it is, plus also the struggles of it. Just having to understand inventory, and I had some theft every once in a while. Kids would figure out how to steal a candy bar when they would come in. So, but obviously the itch was still there. When I was 16, I went to work for a small computer shop. Always been interested in technology and computers ever since I was a really young kid. And I worked this after hours building computers, fixing computers for a small computer shop, learned a lot. And the owner of it was a professor at the university. And he came in one day and said, I'd like to focus my efforts on my teaching. And he was also a magician here in Las Vegas. And so he decided to shut down the computer store. And I went home to my brother and my dad and said, "Hey, my store is closing. but I think we could do the same thing, and some of the customers might come over to us. And so we met as a family and decided to start the company.
Mm,
And it was a family business. It was my brother, my dad, and I that started the business in my brother's garage, and that put both of my brother and I through college. We both went to school in computer science, and it was a great opportunity for us to, work part-time in the business, and go to school full-time, and learned a lot about technology and deploying technology and applied what we were learning in school to the work that we were doing. It's grown. It actually split. We split the company into two different businesses. One software development company that my brother ran, and my business is IT and internet services. And
mhm.
both businesses have grown to huge success. So it's testament from 30 years ago. What we decided to set out to do has been successful.
That's a great success story. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Wow. Your team talks frequently about culture and values. So, how have your values shaped the way that you built your business, and how does your values shape your marketing and your messaging at Stimulus?
That's a really good question. You know, Early on, I didn't understand business and the need to, really clearly define what our corporate values are. And as we grew, the business realized that, the business grew beyond me as the owner and operator of the company, we needed to have something clearly distilled down that when we did hiring, when we did evaluations, when we did service for clients, and everything we do, how do we operate the business? And I was introduced to a book called Traction,
Mm,
which is details out the entrepreneurial operating system, or EOS.
mhm.
And about 10 years ago, we sat down as a small management team and decided to clearly define, what our, mission and vision of the company was, and also what our values are, and distill those down into, five simple phrases, but that were unique to us in a combined manner. And these weren't aspirational. That's one of the things that I really liked about the book is, some businesses define their values by aspirations, things that they want to do, or
Mm,
define their values by things that every business should have. You see company values be like integrity and honesty, and are they saying that every other business out there, doesn't, operate honest business practices? I'm sure there's some, but I think most businesses try to, operate with integrity and honesty. So,
mm.
um, for me, like I had some input on what was important to me, but we also looked at different employees that were, star team members and said, what's different about Shane or, Aaron or, whoever it might be? What makes them unique or different as
Mhm.
a team member? And really, worked on defining our values around what, the best performers inside our company were, and wanted to, encourage other people to emulate those values.
Wow, in your 30-year journey, you said that leadership doesn't come naturally at first. And what was a pivotal moment that you realized you needed to shift your leadership style and how you run your company?
So I remember clearly back in 2008 timeframe, 2002, 7, 2008.
Mm,
There was a few things that were happening. One of them was obviously the Great Recession.
right.
Las Vegas was hit one of the hardest areas for it. We were a big boom town with construction
Mm,
and growth through people moving in here. The casinos, we were building a new casino hotel, like every 3 or 4 months, and then it
mhm,
all stopped. And home values went down, construction stopped. We had a lot of companies that were construction contractors. And so as a business, we were hit really hard. But on the other side of it, we were growing quite a bit, and it was, we had a few employees, about 10 of us, and I realized that, I didn't learn how to run a company in computer science school. No, I did not have one class through my bachelor's or master's programs about how to, manage people, do human resources, manage finances, and
Hmm.
needed to get some expertise and understanding of how to be a leader, not just an operator of a business. I had good technical background. I knew how to do the technical work. I just had no idea how to lead people. And I got an invitation to join a CEO peer mastermind group. And I went to this meeting. It was an introductory meeting, and realized that I needed to learn from others, that have been successful, other peers in my area, plus professional speakers that would come in and talk about different topics. And I joined this group, and I've been involved with the CEO Mastermind group since 2008. With this, I have the same CEO coach for almost 20 years now, and very many of those same original peers from 18 years ago, I still meet with once a month and have a great relationship with, and have learned so much about how to effectively operate a business and grow a business. And we were sub $1 million in revenue at the time, and we're a multiple beyond that and growing very quickly. So the growth has been great trajectory, sustained growth over the years, but having that the CEO coach, somebody I can go to that also challenges me and in my business practices and the things that I'm doing as a leader, but also peers that I can take problems to, and we can work together as a larger leadership team, and other perspectives outside my industry that really help. And I've actually joined other peer groups. I belong to an industry specific peer group, and we're meeting this week to help each other. We're meeting in person, and that really helps. Having mentors and peers and coaches has really changed my ability to grow beyond myself, and and also the leaders inside my organization have done some of the similar things, and have grown their capabilities as we've grown as an organization. So you know, the company is beyond me as a founder. It's grown beyond what I do day to day. I'm not involved with everything day to day. I can do a lot of different things, and that was a mental shift for me. But also trusting people, and having that ability to lead the team and the organization. I've had to learn a lot, and as we've grown.
Yeah. Growth will force you to learn. There's no doubt about that. Um, I'm a member of EO. I think I mentioned that to you earlier, and entrepreneurs organization, and it's been wonderfully helpful for me as well. Sounds very similar to what you're describing in some ways, a peer group of other entrepreneurs. And I've been a member of EO for about, I think, 13 or 14 years now, and it's been so helpful for me as an entrepreneur. When I started this company, and I was basically a subject matter expert. I knew an enormous amount about direct marketing. I knew how to do direct marketing, but I had very little idea how to run a company or how to grow an agency. So EO has been hugely helpful for me in that regard as well.
I certainly, when I talk to people that want to start businesses, or struggling growing the business, that's one of primary recommendations is get involved with a peer group, learn from
Yeah.
other, beyond the social side of it, really people that are willing to challenge you, and provide good advice because they've been there before.
Yeah.
It's that's one of the struggles I think a lot of entrepreneurs have is, often they're running a company which is the largest, organization they've ever ran, and, especially a founder-led company.
Mhm.
So, learning from people that have been there and done that before is a huge benefit, because they can, let you know where those landmines are and how to best navigate them,
Yeah.
as you move along.
Yeah. EO has been more than just a business group for a lot of us. I mean, entrepreneurship is can be very lonely at times. You don't really have people that you can open up to and talk, fully openly with. And even sometimes your own family doesn't really understand what you're going through, right? And so that EO connection with other entrepreneurs is very special and very useful. And yeah, it's turned into more of a life group, really, where you go through all kinds of different life changes with people. Their kids grow up and go off to college, and they go through all kinds of ups and downs, just like we all do. So it's kind of nice to have that group that you can consult with about those business things, but also about all these other life things that happen along the way.
Sure. There's a story that I read once that I relate to a lot. You mentioned that, that being a CEO can be very lonely, and the story goes, being a CEO is like a guy riding a lion. And everybody looks out on the guy riding the lion and say, wow, that guy has so much courage. He's so driven, what amazing things that he's doing there. That's a great thing. And the guy riding the lion says, what the hell am I doing? How do I get off of this thing? And how do I not die?
Yeah,
So, you
exactly.
know, I
Oh
think
yeah.
being a founder, CEO, of a growing, SMB or lower middle market business, it feels a lot of times like riding a lion where your organization is, tries constantly try to kill you in one way or another, whether it's competitors or HR issues or financial issues, you know,
Yeah.
going through COVID, financial crisis. There's always something out there trying to kill you. And,
Yeah.
having nobody understands it, other than the other guy across the way that's also riding the lion.
You mentioned in some of the messages that I read about that marketing wasn't initially intuitive for you early on, and that I'm sure you've grown into a much more sophisticated approach to marketing. But tell me a little bit about what's worked for you and what hasn't worked. What have you tried that hasn't worked for you?
So, when we started out, most of our clients came by word of mouth, friends and family.
Mm,
As, it happens with a lot of businesses. But kind of limit yourself on the size of your business based off of the people that you know.
hmm
And if you know a lot of people that have businesses, then that's great, but you're still kind of limited. And so, we did different things early on. I remember doing like the five around. You'd go to a client's office and then you'd go hand out flyers to five businesses around them.
mm,
Um, Somewhat successful, but it's as a um, I'm quite an introvert. I'm a tech guy, by nature, and to walk into somebody's business and just talk to the front desk person or whatever is very uncomfortable.
mm,
Um, did things like door hangers at some point, and we just weren't getting a lot of traction
mm,
with that marketing. And so about 10, 12 years ago, we were growing, a good 10, 20% per year. And I was happy with that. Um, but I wanted to grow faster and expand the market. And there was a tech company based here in Las Vegas that I was getting some of their marketing. They were marketing out to us, and I noticed that their marketing was very different and creative. I'd get this letter in the mail with a dollar bill attached to it, and something
mm,
like it's an offer you can't refuse, and just kind of weird mailings. And
mm,
uh, which was interesting. I mean, I would never be their customer because we do the same thing they do, but I realized that they were doing this, very interesting direct response marketing that was creative that I had never seen before.
mm,
And there was a group called the Technology Marketing Toolkit that was helping this organization put these materials together. It was, specific to our managed services industry. After a few years of seeing their rapid growth, I decided that we needed to do something different than what we had been doing. And we decided to also join that group
mm,
and use some of their marketing tools. And it's interesting, that I've learned over the last 8 years is being, part of that organization that marketing requires consistent efforts and it requires, change to the environment. But, it's just more about consistency than, trying a new campaign every once in a while. Before the call, we were talking about direct response and
hmm
want to just do SEO and AdWords and, social media. But I think today, the different thing to do is, sending those funny envelopes, or, sending a FedEx package, or, something different to communicate
Yeah.
with people medium that they're not used to be marketed to, which, 30 years ago, direct mail marketing was, about the only way, other than, billboards or TV and radio ads. But,
Hmm.
everybody wants to market on the internet. Doing, the letters and email campaigns is actually the different thing to do now. And we're finding, a lot of success, but it does take a lot of effort, consistently mailing things, following up on them, and being creative to get people to open up the mail.
Yeah.
And and we've had good luck, doing that. You know, Obviously we have our other nurture campaigns and digital campaigns that we do, but we find that the direct mail is very effective.
That's great. That's good for us to hear since that's what we're focused on. We obviously feel like direct mail is a great way to break through the digital clutter that people are, faced with today. We all get so many emails and so much constant bombardment of ads when we're online and everything, but the mail comes through and reaches into your home, and people actually the tangible nature of direct mail makes it much more um memorable and has a different way it interacts with you and your brain. It actually lights up a whole different area of your brain than digital marketing, believe it or not. We have a framework for direct marketing and direct mail performance, and I'm happy to share that with you and send that over to you. I'm happy to share it with anybody else that reaches out and asks for it as well. But um, the bottom level, the foundational level of our framework is to have a test and measure and optimize approach. And I think that's one of the things that's so interesting that you can do with direct mail is you can mail more than one thing at a time and read the results and then make data driven decisions. And so much of marketing these days is guesswork, right? You feel let's guess at what's going to work next and let's try it and do one thing at a time, which is can be very slow. And that slow speed can be dangerous, right? It can cause people to, well, what we see sometimes is people try direct a certain thing, it doesn't work, and then they say, "Oh, well, all direct mail doesn't work." Well, that's not true. You just didn't go about it in the right way. There's a sort of scientific approach that can work in direct mail. So we're big proponents that foundational level is the testing methodology and the response analysis, and then using that with us in a cycle to fuel your and make educated decisions about what to roll out with and where to put your money next. You host a podcast called Stimulus Tech Talk, and I wanted to ask you about your experience podcasting. How has that contributed to building trust and generating inbound interest?
We're approaching 100 episodes on Stimulus Tech Talk.
Wow.
About 2.5 years now of recording. Uh, it's been an interesting process. We didn't know what to expect or what we would do with the podcast. It's been a variety of, uh, different things that we've done. One of it is bringing guests on, kind of like what you're doing to me right now is, different people in the industry or outside the industry that bring expertise in. Um, and, some of the episodes, I'm the expert being interviewed by my marketing manager. Uh,
Mm,
what we what really it's about is about creating an authority for me as the business owner. There's different types of marketing that you do. The direct response marketing is definitely a good marketing avenue, but another one is, building the organization up as the authority of in your specific niche.
mm,
And that's the point of Stimulus Tech Talk is, building myself up as an authority. And it's a great way to generate content. We take the podcast, we transcribe it, and it becomes content on our website. And especially when we're doing like guesting, we cross share the podcast with our guests, or if I am guesting on another podcast, and that brings people into our site, getting those cross links. But it's been also on the other side of it, I have to have a specific message that I'm sharing, whether you're asking me about business questions or, history of the company,
Mhm.
but also, my specific view on different topics, whether it's technology or just business leadership, things like that. As an owner, I, create an authority around myself of the business. And so podcasts is a great way to do that. Guesting on other people's podcasts is a great way to do that. And it really, gives you that authority status of, this guy really knows what they're talking about. I get a lot of people that, and some of them are vendors that call me up that just do, want to sell to me. But we get clients that call up, oh, I heard you on this random, podcast, or, I listened to a few of your podcasts. You seem to know what you're doing.
Mm.
And, got a lot of interest. So it's been really helpful in building the authority of me as the CEO, but also the company in general of what we believe in, what our platform is, how we do business. And if people want to know about, us more, they can watch a YouTube video from the podcast or listen to the podcast in their car. And it really helps them understand, what we are about as a company.
I want to ask you some more questions about technology adoption and how fast technology is changing. And of course, we have to get into some questions about artificial intelligence. These, where is this all headed? Uh, you've seen everything from dial up to cloud to AI. What's the trend that you see really moving us forward and reshaping our business models?
Yeah, 30 years in technology, it has dramatically changed. When we first started, we were helping businesses just get on the internet, get their website set up, use email effectively. That was the first, push. And then, move to the cloud, 10 years ago was the big push.
Mhm.
Um, Software as a service, things like that. And I think about AI in terms of a new iteration of automation and improvement of productivity inside an organization. Because in the end, what all organizations are trying to do is do more good work with less people and less man hours, not less people hours.
Mhm.
And you have to do it to stay competitive in the environment because especially for small to mid-sized businesses, we're fighting against large enterprises with huge budgets and they could just throw money at things. And we have to figure out how to outsmart and outwork them. And the best way to do it is, how can we best automate our mundane efforts in the company and really focus on what makes us unique and experts. And that's, I think, where we need to be focused as we move to a new iteration of automation and improvement of productivity is what makes our businesses unique and what things can we automate that aren't really additive to our uniqueness as a company.
Mhm.
And so if we think about AI as really an assistant on helping us do better work each day, that will make us more productive. It'll allow our team members to focus on what they really want to do, what they were hired to do, and do less of the things that they don't necessarily want to do.
Mhm.
And I also am a little bit of a futurist, and I think about why we need this as a country and as a world. And, birth rates are down. We're in the United States, we're not, increasing our population by natural methods. Obviously in the political environment that we're in, immigration is down.
Mm.
And so we as business leaders have to do more work with less people because there are literally less people to do the work.
Mm.
And we have to think about that as a world too, of how do we, continue, producing increased, domestic products or increased productivity with less people. And, that's where automation comes in. If you listen to, like Elon Musk, I think that's a big push for Tesla and his organization there is, really it's that same idea is we have to be able to, do focus our efforts on things that are uniquely human and
Mhm.
let automation do things that are, can be automated with technology and with computers. And we've been doing it, people that are scared of it, were probably scared of the computer back in 1950, that was going to eliminate jobs. And, jobs have been eliminated by technology for, hundreds of years. And
Mhm.
it's just accelerating it. And I think that's what scares people more than anything else is that acceleration of the change, which really is, happening.
Yeah.
So, but those organizations and individuals that embrace it are on the forefront and really see the benefits in their organizations and their lives through reducing those tasks that we don't necessarily want to do and focusing on the work that we really enjoy doing and why we went into the fields that we went into.
Yeah. Will will you be shifting stimulus tech to help clients adopt AI and use AI in their businesses? Or is that a part of your focus in moving forward?
We do. We have a small division that we've started as AI as a service.
Mm,
We offer some AI services, just kind of experimenting, helping clients understand how to implement it
mhm,
inside and prepare for it.
mhm,
So it is something that we're incorporating and then seeing where we expand it to. So most of our clients are in the SMB market, sub 20 employees. And
mhm,
so these companies aren't going to go out and make a, $100 million investment in a new AI tool. They're looking at,
right.
how can I use Microsoft Copilot better or, my line of business application in my dentist practice incorporated some AI. How do I use that to
Mhm,
efficiently, look at dental records? These are
mhm,
questions, and we're helping businesses navigate that changing landscape because business owners are hearing AI, 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 got to implement AI, and then the question is where how am I going to get benefit inside my organization out of AI? And we're trying to answer that in very measured approach as we're helping clients implement these tools inside their businesses.
Yeah, it's especially helpful for small businesses because the CEO is usually the one who's, leading the technology within the business, and it's an area that they don't know very much about. So they definitely need to find those outside resources to help them along the way. I know I do. I need to find the people that are expert at automation and help us to automate our internal processes and things like that. There's more and more ways to use AI popping up. It seems like almost every day, and you just kind of stumble upon them, and then you're like, "Wow, that's amazing!" But um, it's hard to digest it all.
It is, and there's a ton of tools out there and trying to figure out what's useful and what's not. And then some things are just fun to play around with. Like,
Yeah.
I experiment around with different things. Personally, I ran across an app called Suno
Mm,
late last year to do songwriting
mm,
and music. I'm not a songwriter or professional musician. I play the piano and a little
mm,
bit. You know, this tool is amazing. You put in some ideas and write some lyrics and it give it a genre and it generates an amazing song. Based off of just a few prompts and it's really cool. It's amazing.
yeah.
And supposedly musicians are using a tool like that too to supplement the work that they're doing. So that's the thing is again, focus on what you're an expert in and let AI help automate the things that you're not great at. And that's
Hmm.
really what we're seeing.
Yeah. Well, it's an exciting time. That's for sure. It's not a time to get bored. We have to keep learning all the time. It's very demanding in that regard, isn't it? Um, you wrote a book actually called The CEO's Digital Survival Guide. Why did you feel like CEOs needed a survival guide? I guess we've kind of already talked about that, but what's a common blind spot or something that you address in the book?
The reason why I wrote the book, part of it was that authority marketing that we talked
Mm,
about. It
mm,
was, um, I I like doing new things. And I was coming up on my 40th birthday a few years ago,
Mm,
and I wanted to go on an epic adventure. And I learned about this trail called the John Muir Trail out here
mm,
in the 220-mile um, through hike that a lot of people do. It's a very competitive hike through the Sierra Nevada mountains, and I learned about it on a scouting trip that I was a leader on, and I decided I want to do it, but I've never done a through hike backpacking adventure. Um, and through the process of learning how to buy gear and how to navigate the permitting process and how to, get resupplies and stay safe on the trail and all these things, I relied on a lot of experts and a lot of, guides.
mm,
And I really, a lot of the questions that I had were, similar to questions that we would get as an organization about how to use technology. And they were often the same questions. And, the CEOs or leaders would come to ask us about, and decided to write, similar to what I purchased to get, an understanding of through hiking. Um, Decided to write a guide to help business owners understand the basics of what they need to do to implement technology well inside their organizations.
mm,
So the guide is, a checkup on where they're at as an organization from a technology perspective, and gives them enough information to effectively have good conversations with the experts in the industry. And a lot of CEOs don't like talking to IT guys. We use a lot of acronyms. We sometimes can not on purpose, but talk over people's heads and
mm,
with those acronyms or explanations. And so
mm,
I wanted to give a basis on, why these technologies are important, and then what threats are out there to their organization that they need to protect against. Because a lot of, business owners don't want to invest in cybersecurity because they think they're too small to um, really have, a hacker come after them. But all organizations are susceptible, whether you're a one person, organization, or have hundreds of millions of employees, or whatever, millions of employees. They're
sure.
all susceptible to cyber attacks. And so wanted to give basis on, okay, what are the core technologies you need, what are the core defenses you need, and then
Mm.
how to have those conversations with the experts to get it implemented effectively in the organization.
Well, that sounds incredibly useful. Did you say that you were able to offer that to people if they were interested?
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn. If you do a quick search for me on LinkedIn and connect with me and just send me a quick direct message, I'd be happy to send you a copy of the CEO's Digital Survival Guide. It's also available on all the other bookstores, Amazon, Barnes and Noble. But happy to send you a free copy because it's I'm evangelizing our industry and the things that are important.
Yeah.
So happy to connect and send you a copy.
Well, the power of the word free is very strong. So, when you say free, then you're going to get some responses. That's how direct marketing works. And, I know I'm going to send you a message for the guide probably right after we get off this recording.
Excellent.
Well, this has been great. I really appreciate your time. And I guess I want to ask you maybe one more question and just to wrap up, but, tell us about something that has been really impactful for you in your business. What's something that you've learned a great deal from, or something that you think you'd like to share with other business owners and other people out there?
I was sitting down with my CEO coach quite a few years ago when we first started, and I
Hmm.
was, as I mentioned, a changing time in my organization. And he said something to me that was probably a phrase that's been most impactful on the business, and that's live another day. Because I think we're faced with so many challenges as business owners that seem unsurmountable. There's, no clear path forward.
Mm-hmm.
And on those days that, the vision's lost, you have no idea how you're going to get through whatever challenge you're dealing with.
Hmm.
What the focus needs to be on, okay, what can I do today to help the business survive to tomorrow? And then tomorrow comes and you figure out how to survive another day. And so I think, having all of us as CEOs, business owners have a long-term vision. We see where we want to go, a year, 5 years, 10 years from now, but sometimes it's really hard to see how to get till tomorrow and
Mm.
having that resilience to overcome the challenges of the day, realize that, if we can get through the challenges of today, we can certainly get through the challenges of tomorrow. And that will lead us to success in that year and 5 years and 10 years. And there's no business owner out there that hasn't had a challenge that seemed like, tomorrow, I'm not going to be able to overcome this. And there's certainly challenges out there that are like that, that maybe not be survivable. But I think for 90+% of them out there, if you just can, have the resilience to survive another day and to focus on, the challenges of today and how to overcome them, the future will take care of itself if you're willing to put in the hard efforts today to overcome them. So that's probably my biggest piece of advice that I learned, that has allowed me to continue on in face of all the adversity that business that I as a business owner suffer from, and
Yeah.
it brought me a lot of peace too. Realizing that the stress of the day isn't worth it. I think in the brief conversation at the beginning, you were saying I'm so calm, and that's what's helped me to overcome it. Is yeah, there's
Yeah.
nervousness, pressure, but you got to stay calm under that and just survive the next day.
Yeah. That resonates with me for sure. I appreciate that advice a lot. I think I've had to get okay with, I like to have checklists and check things off and constantly be getting things done. Um, One of the things that's been a learning process for me is the ability to, like, write down some really hard problems and just sit with them for a while and not know when I'm going to have an answer to that question. But I don't forget about it. I just leave it in front of me, leave it on my whiteboard, put it on a list or whatever. And I just sit with it for a while, and eventually answers come. It's amazing, but it doesn't always happen on my schedule. It seems to happen on some other schedule. I don't know who makes the schedule, but yeah, you just have to hang in there sometimes until you're like, oh well, it's going to take some time to figure this out. And I get frustrated in not having the immediate answers. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, I think it's, as business owners, most of us are type A personalities, are very driven. Obviously, we would have started a business without being driven. And we want to control, and we want to, be able to dictate how the outcomes are. And just like I said, some outcomes take a lot longer than our expectations. And so just focus on what you can change today and what you can work on today, and then
yeah.
uh, when the opportunity comes to solve those bigger problems, you'll be there ready to do it.
Yeah. Well, that's great advice. Thank you so much, Nathan. Well, this has been a real pleasure getting to know you and to hear your advice and your wisdom. So thank you so much for being a guest on Response Drivers.
It's my pleasure. Thanks, Rick, for having me.
That's a wrap for this episode of Response Drivers. Thanks for tuning in. If you found today's insights valuable, make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you're enjoying the show, we'd love it if you left a review. Got a question or a topic you'd like us to cover? Just drop us a message at responsdrivers@rpmdm.com. Until next time, keep driving response and making your marketing work smarter.